Welcome, everybody, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Chrysan on the Cyber Monday edition of Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino and the brand new Barstool Sportsbook inside LeBear's Casino. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving week, Turkey week. Now it's all time to get to the gym, get to the diet, all that kind of stuff. Also, before we get started, I want to shout out to Mama Janet. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday to Mama Janet. I hope she has a wonderful one. Also today on Sports Shorts, we're going to talk, of course. How about this? LSU, Southern, Tulane, all in championship games this Saturday. All of them playing at the same time, so you're going to have to make some choices on your smart devices on what you watch. I think a lot of people who might have been going to Atlanta, especially if you're from Baton Rouge or New Orleans, might make the ride down to go see Tulane play Central Florida in the American Conference Championship and watch that LSU game on your phone. I'm sure reservations have been canceled. TAF has got many phone calls to, you know what, I don't need those tickets now for the LSU championship game. We'll talk about the Pelicans. Willie Fritz out of Tulane expected to take the Georgia Tech job. Some other hires that have happened over the last couple of days. Ruled in Nebraska, South Carolina beating Clemson, their offensive coordinator. Looks like he's leaving South Carolina to go to Nebraska. We'll get into all that. But first, let's talk a little LSU, Tommy. I don't know that anyone saw this coming. I mean, anytime you play a rivalry game, an SEC game, anything can happen. But this was probably worse than anything happening because, quite frankly, Texas A&M deserved to win the game. They were the better team on Saturday. They had a running back go for over 200 yards on the ground. I guess there's two questions. What happened to LSU, and why hasn't A&M played more like this all year?
Well, it just validates how strong and deep the SEC is. Here's an A&M team 1-6 coming in, and they ran the ball. LSU could not stop the run. They made I'm sure they tried to adjust. It didn't work. They weren't able to stop the run, and that controlled the whole game. A&M won the game on the line of scrimmage. LSU didn't play its best game. Like Coach Kelly said, they had an off day. They're going to have to learn from it. And it's disappointing because it's quote unquote a rivalry. It's rivalry week, and it's the A&M, and it's Jimbo Fisher, and there's lots of storylines here. Bottom line, I thought A&M wanted the game more. They had more intensity. They were after. And here's my problem with the game: LSU did not throw one pass more than 12 yards down the field. Not one time did the ball go down the field. Against Ole Miss and Bama, with two very big, impressive wins for LSU, they threw the ball down the field. Now, I get it. A&M could have been backing up, say, hey, we're going to let you catch it. We're going to run up and try to tackle you. That's a good defense a lot, and a lot of teams do use that. But LSU, just the offensive game plan stunk. They only got two scholarship running backs, so there should have been more reason to throw the ball and throw it down the field, try to stretch them out a little bit. I mean, Daniels was under pressure constantly, ran too much too quick. I thought it just was not a good night for the LSU football team. And I think, nobody wants to say this, but you got to give A&M credit. That was their season, their bowl game. Now they can hang their hat on the fact that, hey, we ended the season on a good note. Let's take that into next year.
You talk about a giant win for a program that needed one, and Texas A&M. I mean, what a difference this offseason is going to be for Jimbo Fisher just based off of that one win against LSU, particularly since it's the last win. There's so now you can use a little bit of those excuses of the injuries and all sorts of things and first-year players, and we're really young and didn't have an established quarterback. There's some belief now that they've figured some things out at A&M, and unfortunately a little too late for this year, but at least going into the offseason, they'll have a little bit better taste in their mouth. You're not going to have to hear probably about buying out Jimbo at $86 million. There's just no way that's going to happen unless there's some billionaire that just hates money that's willing to help to support that stupid cause. But that's a giant win. Like A-Chain or whatever, the running back, and Muhammad, the wide receiver, they were the best two players on the field for both teams. I mean, a couple of those catches, particularly the touchdown catch that Muhammad made, now the throw was right on the money, but I mean, to just have a defender draped all over him and to make that one-handed catch, not once but twice, and then A-Chain goes for over 200 yards when he was a game-time decision on the play. It was just amazing stories. But when the LSU got to 17-17 early in the third quarter, and then they had the scoop and score, they have the chance, they have the ball after 2 3 and outs on defense in the third quarter. They have the ball, they have the opportunity to get down the field, get some points, take the lead. And for the first time, and they didn't, and they had the fumble on fourth down where he didn't give the ball, and it looked like Brian Kelly was chewing out Daniels on the sidelines, like he didn't do the right thing. That scoop and score, I mean, as soon as that happened, Tommy, I turned to the people I was watching the game with and said, a team has a defensive touchdown, they win 80-90% of the time, or 90% of the time. I mean, it's so a gift score like that in a close game or just any game is so hard to overcome, and that was the game changer. From that point on, LSU was a shell of its former self. And then explain to me this, not that it mattered, it didn't matter, but why go for 2?
That was a mistake. That was a total mistake to go for 2. A group text messaging thing I was in. Trey Blossman.
Did Kelly explain himself after the game? I was so distraught I didn't watch the press conference.
Hopefully somebody in the media will, ask him about that. But Trey Blossman, who does some podcasts with me, he texted me like, why did he go for 2? That makes absolutely no sense. So I agree with that. Hopefully Kelly will address that at noon today. Hey, Byron makes a good point. Sometimes a good old butt whipping tightens up the mindset and the process going forward. The other thing, Ronnie, I wanted to comment on, and, we were kind of way off with on Sports Shorts Radio thinking there'd be 30, 40, 50,000 people there. That stadium was full. So you got to give the A&M fans credit and a bunch of Tiger fans that did go, although they came home not happy.
I will say that I was surprised at how strong the A&M turnout was. I would have been wrong on the over-under prediction. I thought there was going to be a lot fewer people there. As it turned out, the weather was, good, and A&M showed up. They showed up. I thought it was going to be a dead stadium. It wasn't. You couldn't tell if they were, had 4 wins or 8 wins, the way that crowd was. So, listen, Chance, I get it. I get it. The analytics-wise, if you get 2 points, I get all that, but that theory just came into vogue in the last about 3 years, right? For 100 years, we played that you extend the game as long as you can. You extend the game, you give yourself a chance. You don't go for 2 until you have to go for 2. That was kind of how it always was. Then all of a sudden, some nerd in a Division III school figured out some analytics, made a sheet, passed it around, and everybody went, that's what we got to do. I mean, it doesn't make – not to mention just the human factor of it takes the wind out of your sails. Oh, we went for 2, we didn't get it, Like just kick the extra point. We'll worry about the decision later on. Like for right now, let's just kick the field, go extra point, move. As it turns out, you go for 2, you don't get it, and then you get your quarterback hurt again. It's just to me, there's no rationalization to it. It was just overthinking and paralysis by analysis. But I mean, yeah, we immediately Googled the analytics online and saw that, well, there is a sheet that says when you're at this point, you should go for 2. I think it was a mistake.
Well, here's what I say too, Ronnie. Steven said, no sense chasing points till the fourth quarter or when the math tells you. Because here's the point. In today's offensive-minded football game, okay, it's not uncommon for a team to score 21 points in one quarter. So, and if you're down 40-0, you're not going to go for 2. So keep getting that 1 point and don't – I think when you go for 2 and don't get it, it's a momentum breaker. You just told the other team, whatever. So I hope somebody asked Brian Kelly about that today. But, it's just what you got to – to me, you kick the extra point unless you're in the fourth quarter and or, 4 or 5 point lead doesn't matter. So you want to stay away from that. Or, if you got to do the math with 4 minutes to go in the game or 5 minutes to go in the game. By the way, Ronnie, quick side note, first time in NFL history that a team won with a 2-point conversion. It happened twice yesterday. The Jaguars and somebody else, Chargers, 2-point conversion basically at the buzzer to win the game in the NFL yesterday. So,
yeah. The rule happened in 1994 was when the rule was implemented for the 2-point conversion. And also, what, 79 games this year have been decided by 6 points or less through the first 12 weeks. That's the most in NFL history. I mean, so it's been close, 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 close. It's been the land of the dogs, it felt like this weekend in college football, as well as NFL. Uh, you talk about a Hunter McCann took a pounding. Ronnie Rance took a pounding. It was a bad weekend for the betters, at least for me, for this guy. It was a bad weekend. But getting back to LSU for a minute, um, you know, clearly they have not been the same since the Alabama game. The Arkansas game was atrocious. We kind of made excuses because it was a little bit of a hangover. It was on the road. It was chilly, whatever. But the same team showed up at A&M. And this looked like the same team at A&M. The passing game hasn't been the same with Jaden Daniels. He's taken a step back, not forward. And now the line is reflecting that. Before the game, LSU was about a 15 and a half point dog. Now they're up to, 17 and a half?
17 and a half I saw this morning.
Yeah. I mean, that's 17 and a half is a lot of points. And the thing is that stadium, I mean, it's a home game for Georgia. That stadium is going to be at least 75% Georgia, 25% LSU. I know of a lot of people that are not going to go to Atlanta now after that A&M loss. So you're going to have a fan base. It's kind of ironic. It's a terrible deal in the sense that if you'd have told any of us before the season LSU would win 9 games and go to the SEC championship, we would be ecstatic. We would be fired up. But the way they did it, losing that last one to the worst team in the West, and in the fashion that they did, it just really takes the wind out of the sails. Now, by Saturday, everybody will be jacked up and ready to go for the game and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of lackluster. You blew your opportunity to win one, get into the playoffs. That's where this LSU program is at. We're not South Carolina and just happy to have a couple big moments. This is a program that's won 3 national championships in the last 20 years, and that's where the expectation is. And is that the money line? Wow, $1,000 basically if LSU wins on you $100.
All right, Ronnie, let's throw this up here right now. I'd sent you this, and you liked it. The preseason media poll about the SEC. Preseason's on the left. How they finish is on the right. And there's only 4 out of 14 that are in the correct spot that they were predicted. That would be Vanderbilt and Missouri, Ole Miss and Georgia. Everybody else finished somewhere else as opposed to what the media poll predicted. Now, we know the media poll at the SEC Media Days has not always been super duper accurate, but here's another example of that, of what happened with all of that.
4 of the 14, and obviously, the funniest is LSU and A&M. I mean, LSU picked to finish 5th. They win the division, and obviously A&M picked to finish 2nd and ranked in the top 10 in the country, and they finish at the bottom and don't even make a bowl. Those are the ones that stand out clearly the most.
And Auburn's sitting down at the bottom. That's why they get a new coach. So anyway, just thought we'd throw that up there for you folks.
Speaking of Auburn's old coach, Gus Malzahn did his job, got Central Florida into the American Conference Championship. Gus Malzahn bringing UCF to New Orleans for the 2nd time this year. They played Tulane earlier this year and beat them at Yeoman Stadium. They're going to play for the Conference Championship at 3:00 this Saturday. One of the big, the biggest game in Tulane history, hosting a playoff game, a conference championship game on their home field. They beat a ranked team in Cincinnati for the first time since 1984. That's unbelievable that's been that long since they beat an AP top 25 team. So they're coming on fire. Now, all of a sudden, everything is going to come to a screeching halt. If you haven't bet on Central Florida, load up on Central Florida.
Well, there's no line yet because it looks like Willie Fritz is going to Georgia Tech. By the way, Ronnie, Central Florida beat them 38-31 back on November 12th.
Right. And the score's misleading. It actually was more of a blowout than that.
It was like 38-13 at one point.
Yeah. But Willie Fritz, of course, has done a fantastic job at Tulane, and you mentioned it on Sports Shorts Radio Saturday, Tommy, the job he did going from basically worst to first. 2 wins a year ago, they had to deal with Hurricane Ida and some bad fortune and all that, and then all of a sudden now to turn it around and win 10 games, and I mean it's just an amazing story. It's like a movie. He was a good coach at Georgia Southern. He was thought of highly when he came here, and now it looks like he's going to double, triple his salary at 62 years of age. Has to jump on it while he can. Probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of a 4-year, $16 million, 4-year, $20 million contract, something like that over at Georgia Tech. You can't blame the guy if it all is true and he does in fact leave and take the Georgia Tech job, which is being reported.
Yeah, well, again, Tulane doesn't have to disclose the salary because they're a private institution, but everybody says he makes about 1.8, 1.9 million at Tulane. That's what I've read. So he's going to double that, and
Right.
at 62, you get a chance to double your salary. I think you're going to do it. So, it's not good news for Tulane, but the old saying, he left the program a lot better shape than he found it. So maybe somebody could come in and build on it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Now, the negative is that in the day and age of the transfer portal, a lot of their best players are going to jet. Some will probably end up at Georgia Tech. Some will end up somewhere else. But the job obviously is set up better than the way he found it for sure. Question becomes who is a candidate for that job. There used to be a lot of thought that, with that kind of institution and academics and all that, it takes a different kind of coach. I don't know. I think it takes a coach that needs to sell the city of New Orleans, number one, needs to sell a Tulane degree is still worth a lot of something, even though the rigorous academic restrictions are not there anymore. They have ways to work around that. Who would really want that job? Again, it's a $2 million a year job, right? It's a $2 million a year job. Chance saying Tulane should go after Jim Mora Jr. His name's been thrown around a ton. I'm going to bring it up just for the sake of conversation. Does Ed Ogeron coach ever again? And
and if he does, it's not at Tulane.
Right. Maybe
I don't know. I was going to be mean. I won't say that.
I would say, if Ed Ogeron coaches again in the state of Louisiana, it would be the Raging Cajuns, right? I mean, that's the one that would make the most sense.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you that would make the most sense if he was going to coach in Louisiana again.
By the way, I'm debating on whether to be in Atlanta or be at Tulane for the championship game. I'm leaning towards going to Tulane for the championship game and watching the LSU game on my phone. Just to change it up, just to see something different.
In spite of what it looks like is going to happen with Willie Fritz, I hope the Tulane fans show up. Central Florida's going to bring a few people. It's easy to fly from Orlando to New Orleans. So
they got a big following. Yeah,
they're going to bring some people down there. Hopefully the Green Wave can put a lot of people in Yeoman Stadium. For people that haven't been there, it's a great football stadium. Small, quaint, whatever you want to say.
No bad seats, that's for sure.
No bad seats, and a lot of them got used this year for the first time. But as you said a couple months ago, but I hope they get a big crowd, for Tulane. I mean, if they win that game, they're in a New Year's Six bowl game, probably the Cotton Bowl, and it could be against LSU. I threw that out a couple months ago, and a few people said, "Rick, LSU Tulane in the bowl game. Come on,
that would be great."
I did remember I said that a couple months ago, and a few people thought I was crazy. Well, it could happen,
Southern heading on to take on Jackson State in Jackson. They got, basically no chance against that powerful program. They were shut out earlier this year.
Here's a big thing right here. David Shaw left Stanford. Stanford academically similar to Tulane. Maybe they bring him into Tulane. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ron, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been there for 12 years. I mean, how much does he want to continue to coach? That's a giant move to go from Palo Alto to New Orleans from a standpoint of culture and everything else under the sun. But, yeah, no question, if David Shaw wants to coach again, he would take a massive pay cut probably to go to Tulane. But, what does he want to do? I was mentioning Deion Sanders and Jackson State hosting the SWAC championship game. His name's come up a lot. we talked about it on the show. Where would Deion Sanders, will he get an opportunity to coach at a Power 5 school? Well, supposedly the rumor is that Colorado did offer him the job. Arizona State, though, Arizona State football, who I thought would be a good fit for Deion because of the fact that it's located in Phoenix and there's all the major sports there. Arizona State football is kind of a second tier deal. But it looks like they're going after the offense coordinator
No,
from
they hired
Oregon.
him.
They
They
got
hired
him.
Kevin
Good deal.
Dillingham,
Yeah.
the OC from Oregon, took the job at Arizona State.
So that's a done deal, and I thought that would have been a great job for Deion from a standpoint of go in this mega market with millions and millions of people, get the attention from the community, get the attention from the media. You're over there on the West Coast in California. I mean, you can get these stud players. Instead, they went in a different direction with a more proven commodity in their conference. The offensive coordinator from Oregon. Oh, by the way, you talk about a bad beat, Tommy. I had Oregon in a pick'em against Oregon State. They were up 21 going into the fourth quarter or late third, and they end up losing the game. I mean, it was just brutal. But do you think, I mean, as these jobs are starting to fill off, we see Fickle going to Wisconsin. We know Rule's going to Nebraska. We know Auburn is on the verge of hiring their coach, and it's not Deion Sanders. Georgia Tech looking like they're going to get Willie Fritz. At one point, we thought, well, maybe Georgia Tech might go get Deion because Deion's a hero in Atlanta. Is maybe the opportunity not going to be there for him?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And look, we're going to see a lot of things going to happen today, tomorrow. The transfer portal opens next Monday the 5th, and it's open for 45 days. You got the early signing period a couple weeks after that. These teams aren't wasting any time, whether it's Wisconsin, Nebraska, Arizona State. They're filling these spots. And then, Tulane, if Fritz leaves, they got to fill it with somebody this week. I'm sure they're burning up the phones and all of that stuff now. So, you don't have to have a coach by next Monday, but ideally you'd like one.
Stephen putting up some options for Coach Prime. Rumors that, of course, the Colorado we mentioned, South Florida over there in Tampa makes a lot of sense. Florida International, FIU, which is right there in Miami, would all be good fits. South Florida is a program that not that long ago had some really nice years and was, and that's another school like a Central Florida. It's a little bit of a sleeping giant enrollment right there in Tampa. Who doesn't want to live in Florida? Who wouldn't want to live in Tampa? So you put a guy like that in there, much like Arizona State, but on a smaller scale. You put a guy like that at Central Florida, or at South Florida. Things could happen. But look, if I'm Deion Sanders, I strike while the iron's hot. I don't know that he's going to be able to continue to hang on to these, players and these 4 stars and 5 stars and get, it's a feel good story for a year or two. But for him to continue to do this, that's a lot of effort and a lot of difficulty. And there's a window of opportunity for him to jump. South Florida probably is a job that for him, Tommy, they could probably pay him about $4 million a year. Now, I know Deion doesn't really need it. But if you're going from a job where he's making, I don't know, $500,000 maybe at Jackson State or something like that, to go make $4 million a year and prove yourself for a year or two on that level and then jump to an even bigger school, Florida State potentially to one day could happen, although they had a surprise year. And if I'm him, I would jump now. I wouldn't stick around. I'd take his son and roll.
Well, and again, this could be a busy week for lots of reasons. And college football coaching carousel is one of those reasons.
All right, so the latest is LSU 17.5 point dog to Georgia. Tulane, Central Florida, Tommy. See if you can pull up a line before we get off.
It's not out there because of Willie Fritz.
Oh, because of Willie Fritz. That's right.
Well, it wasn't 10 minutes ago.
Hey, shout out to your alma mater, Southeastern, man. They had a big win over the weekend. They knocked off Idaho at home in a playoff game. If anybody, and I was watching it on my phone during the LSU A&M game, it was in Hammond. That thing was back and forth, was unbelievable, a lot of fun. Southeastern was up 3, and Idaho missed the field goal literally on the second to last play of the game for Southeastern to advance. Congratulations to the Lions. They now take on Samford, not Stanford.
By the way, Tulane minus 3.5. I just checked. So that's good. Yeah. I got a former teammate, baseball player, that was keeping me posted on Southeastern. That was wild and crazy. But the Lions get the win against the Idaho Vandals. Now they'll play Samford. Now, Samford is only lost this year is to the Georgia Bulldogs. That's it. Week number 2, Georgia beat them like 33-0. It was actually like 17-0 at half, something like that. So Samford's a really good team, but Samford has not won a playoff game in 31 years in college football. So Southeastern, I haven't seen a line on that one yet, but that's a 2:00 game. So you can watch a little bit of that one before Southern, Tulane, and LSU. And you can check all the batteries in all your remote controls.
Yeah, all your streaming
Make sure
devices.
The smartphones are fully charged, the laptops fully charged, because Saturday going to be busy for Louisiana football fans in Louisiana this Saturday.
FAU has fired Taggart, Willie Taggart, so that's another job.
Texas State fired Spivatow too.
Who's that?
Texas State fired their coach Jake Spivatow, who was in the SEC as a coordinator.
Yeah, the Texas State got beat by the Raging Cajuns on Saturday. Raging Cajuns, congratulations to them. They punched
They're bowl eligible.
To the bowl game. They finished 6-6. Texas State used to be in the Southland Conference, moved over to the Sun Belt Conference a few years ago, and they're going to have a new coach there. So, but those are all jobs. I in my mind, Coach Prime has always said he was going to basically, he was going to stay at Jackson State and really not leave unless a Power 5 school came. Was kind of the thought and expectation. I'll be curious to see if he takes a non-Power 5 job. Let's see. Tulane minus 175 on the money line as well. And Shane LeBlanc saying, when is the last time that Tulane, LSU, and the Cajuns all were bowl eligible? That's a good trivia question. We'll have to look that up.
That's maybe never.
Well, no. Tulane just, 3 years ago? Hang on. Was 19?
Raging Cajuns been on a streak. Maybe it has been more recent.
Like 3 years ago. Hang on, I'm looking this up.
I could be off on that.
You look up UL Lafayette. I'm gonna look up Tulane.
Bowl games?
I think in 2019, obviously LSU won the national championship. Tulane was bowl appearances. Let's see, when did Tulane go? Bowl games here. Here we go.
All right. ULL went 16, 18, 20, 21, 20, 20 and 21.
Okay, so LSU, so you said 16, 18. What was it, Tommy?
Yeah. 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, and 2020 twice, because one was in December, one was in January.
Okay,
and then, of course, last year went to the New Orleans Bowl, but Tulane didn't go to a bowl last year. They were 2-10.
Right. So the 18 season and the 19 season,
not
LSU,
not ULL in 19.
No, I'm saying that the 18 season and the 19 season, the Tulane was in a bowl game. LSU obviously was in a bowl game, and the Raging Cajuns were in a bowl game at least in 18. So it hasn't been as long as you think. Although there's not
chances right. ULL and Tulane played in a bowl game against each other.
They did. That was the New Orleans Bowl back 2013, I think.
13 to 14, yeah.
No, that was 2018. Tulane knocked off the Raging Cajuns 41-24. That was on December 15th.
Was LSU in a bowl game in 18?
I'm looking right at it. Yeah.
Okay, so the answer is 2018.
Yeah, it was Louisiana Lafayette. There was the Cure Bowl. Tulane Greenway Bowl games, 2018, UL Lafayette. And they also played each other in 2013. So the New Orleans Bowl was 2013. The Cure Bowl was 2018, where they played each other, Tulane and LSU.
All right.
Tulane and UL. All right, where else we're heading? What direction here, TK?
Well, we got prep playoffs, a lot of exciting games this past weekend. Now we're to the semifinal level with some great matchups coming up around the state.
How about High pounding Newman and Arch Manning? He ended his career on a bad note.
Yeah, right. Like 8 for 28 passing. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, U High. I did a U High game this year. Their defense is fantastic. Obviously, Verge Osbury's youngest son is middle linebacker headed to Notre Dame, is one of many good players. They have U High has about 7 or 8 Division I players, like the players that have offers, holding Division I offers. U High has 7 or 8 of those, and most of them freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So they're going to be loaded next year. But they went down in New Orleans, knocked off Arch Manning, dominated him. They got a couple late scores to make it to prevent the shutout. But congratulations to U High. They'll be moving on. Dunham, impressive. They're moving on. Catholic had a big win against Warren Easton. Zachary, of
Edna
course,
Karsh.
always doing what they do. So a lot of good teams here in the area that's still advancing through the playoffs.
Hey, one other thing, we got to tell everybody what's happening with Sports Shorts Radio this week, right? Let's give it that info. We'll harp on it more Wednesday and Thursday. Sports Shorts Daily going to be Wednesday and Thursday this week, and on your screen is why.
Yeah, it's a little Sports Shorts Radio takeover on OTB. The whole gang, the whole Sports Shorts radio gang will be in studio taking over from 7 until 10 a.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. So looking forward to that. That's Friday morning. And because they're going to be doing some special programming on Saturday from Atlanta, that's why we're going to go over there on Friday and do off the bench. So looking forward to that. Early morning for me, Tommy, not used to setting that alarm for 5:30 or whatever that I'm probably going to have to. So that'll be a little different, but always enjoy going in studio. We haven't done that in a while. And Friday's show will be presented by Calandro's Supermarket. So, and then also for today, right now, the Baton Rouge Rougarou, we've got a Cyber Monday sale going on. Tickets, our family 4-pack of season tickets, is already the cheapest in the world. It's only $100. Gets you and a family of 4 to any Rougarou game during the summer. There's 24 home games, so that's literally $1 a ticket. Well, for today only until midnight, that ticket is $75, so 25% off. You can get the tickets through brrougarou.com electronically for the season. Your family 4-pack of season tickets for only $75. Buy a few, give them away to some folks at work. It's a great cause. Go to brrougarou.com right now and get that. It's good until midnight. So share the love, spread the love, help support college baseball in Baton Rouge. Before we get out of here, tell us about Court Street Cafe.
Yeah, Ronnie, 7 days a week here. You got the Sunday brunch now, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's the big thing. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Jason and the staff do a great job here. And they got the bar area with ball games on, daiquiri machines, full-service bar, wine, liquor, whatever you want. Court Street Cafe, 805 Court Street in Port Allen. This morning I got here, a couple people eating out on the patio because the weather was so nice. I'm telling you, just 2 minutes other side of the Mississippi River Bridge. You work in the downtown Baton Rouge area, you can be here in less than 10 minutes, unless there's a wreck on the bridge, obviously. But Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, connect with them on Facebook and Instagram. They post specials for dinner, for lunch, breakfast, drink specials, the whole bit. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. We want you to check it out.
All right, for Tommy and Ronnie, we'll be back on Wednesday morning. We'll be back Wednesday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. Remember, go to brrougarou.com. And happy birthday to Mama Janet. Hope everybody has a great Monday.